Hello, I'm Israel Taiwo. I'm the Young Surveyors Coordinator of Ekiti State in Nigeria, and I will be presenting on what is going on in the FIG African Young Surveyors Network. Uh, Let me say again that I will be presenting on what is going on the FIG African Young Surveyors Networks, and as well as the FIG African Young Surveyors Network as a whole. Because recently at the STDM training of trainers held at Addis Ababa in Ethiopia in November 2013, FID Young Surveyors from Africa had a meeting where we identified the need for a document titled Prospects, Challenges and Responsibilities of Young Surveyors, the African Perspective. And this document actually contains several things that could empirically define what the FIG African Young Surveyors Network is and what the FIG African Young Surveyors Networks are. So I am going to be adapting certain clips from this particular presentation, and I am going to be as well presenting some of the discussions, informal discussions and formal discussions I had with person in the course of preparing for this presentation. At first, I would like to let you know that we gathered so many information concerning what should be the goals of young surveyors and what is the goals of young surveyors in Africa, and at the same time we obtained information concerning the challenges of young surveyors networks in Africa, and if a young surveyors network of Africa, I mean just one body containing all African young surveyors exist, what should as well be the goal, what should as well be the challenge, and what should as well be the contributions that young surveyors should make. So basically, from the goals, you will see on this my screen that the first on the list is to provide the professional capacity required by African organizations, and there's a chart beside it that says 25.93%, and as well to develop training programs to increase technological knowledge and use, which is at the tail end as 88.89%. That is to let you understand that these results or these goals were actually analyzed to discover the priority for which African young surveyors should implement them, or for which African young surveyors implement them at present. Like I told you, this piece represents what is operating at present and what should as well operate in our networks. Let me try to explain briefly all these goals. Number one is to provide the professional capacity required by African organizations. I discovered that there are so many African organizations ready to partner with young surveyors in Africa, and these persons actually need our services, they need our professional competence, but yet they don't have it, and at the same time we need certain things from them which we do not have. So we believe that if we should provide the professional capacity required by African young organizations, if we should provide the professional capacity required by African organizations, then we'll be much more relevant and will be indeed the type of surveyors that our fathers hope should be. Number two here is create a voice for championing the African YSN cause. 29.63% of African Young Surveyors networks believes that creating a voice for championing the African cause is necessary, and at the same time create peer leadership groups and programs. That is 33.33%. Leverage potentials and intelligence within the African network. Let me tell you that we believe that there are potentials within the African Young Surveyors network. Already we do know certain potentials, and at the same time we keep discovering new potentials each day. So leveraging these potentials and intelligence within the African network the more, such that there will be much more productivity, is one of the goals of a typical YSN Africa. And the next year is 48.15%, which says harness the capacity of the young to support global challenges. Like the first one I explained, there are so many global challenges especially in Africa. I mean, more noteworthy in Africa is the issue of land tenure systems, the issue of land administration, and currently the social tenure domain model of the UN habitat that needs much more propagation and much more handling. I have discovered that some of the persons who are planning or who are implementing this have constraints because of the professional capacity, which is what we African young surveyors have. And we hope to harness the capacity of young surveyors to support these global challenges such that we would be, number one, relevant globally, and at the same time we are going to be relevant to ourselves, because when we support global challenges, of course, we are no longer battling with our local challenges, or we have a hold on the global challenges and we would have some global solutions as well. Another one is to facilitate the need for collaboration between land professionals. This is very, very important, and this is one thing that we do as young surveyors. In one of my next slides, you will be seeing better information concerning this, so may I just hold on concerning that till I get there. Another one here, which rates 85.19%, is to provide career path and growth plan for young surveyors. This is one of the things that African young surveyors networks are into, and one of the things the African Young Surveyors Network should be into. As a matter of fact, let's take for instance the Nigerian situation. I can boldly say that my coordinator from Nigeria, Rolambo Yusuf, has been able to do so many things concerning this, because since the emergence of Young Surveyors Network in Nigeria, we could find considerable changes in the number of surveyors who register. I mean, who register with the Surveyors Council of Nigeria as a registered surveyor. I hope that myself will be inclusive at the end of this year. That is probably one of the reasons why I could not be able to make the conference at present, the working week of which everybody is at present as well. Yeah, the next one here, and which is the one that had the greatest vote amidst of young surveyors in Africa, is to develop training programs to increase technological knowledge and use. Change is inevitable, and change keeps happening concerning technology around us each day. And I tell you that this change is significantly in the aspect of technology, and we identify with this change, and we hope to be better in the change, and that is why we do always develop training programs to increase technological knowledge and use. Significantly concerning myself in Ekiti State, we've had several conferences to share any of the idea I get from international organizations or from these new technologies, these emerging technologies, to share it amidst other persons. That is what the African Young Surveyors Networks are at present doing, and that is what we hope to do when we have a much more robust African Young Surveyors Network. Now, my next slide, composition of Young Surveyors Networks in Africa. That forms our first challenge. Like I told you in the previous slide, concerning trying to come together and bring several other professionals that are within the surveying profession together. I tell you that we had an analysis of the Young Surveyors Network in Africa. I mean the Young Surveyors Networks in Africa, and we discovered that several of the Young Surveyors Networks are made up of a particular professional body. For example, maybe you have just the geomatics practitioners in a particular Young Surveyors Network or in a particular network, and only 44.4% are a mix of several other professional bodies. And of course, this 44.4% does not imply that they are evenly distributed. There is always a sag at the end of the geomatics practitioners, and we hope that we should increase the participation of several other professionals within the surveying network, aside the geomatics practitioners. Now, let me go through the chart we have in this place. Sorry, the graph I have in this place that talks about several other challenges that Young Surveyors Network in Africa face at present. Poor funding. Several of our networks identified with poor funding, and not really because we don't receive funds, but probably because these funds are not well managed and probably because these funds are not actually getting to where they should get to each time, or probably because young surveyors believe that these funds can be better managed. And this is what operates at present, and we hope that this will not be a problem as well for the young surveyors network entirely when in Africa when it emerges. Another one here is lack of adequate tools and technology. Information gap, lack of support from home professional bodies, deskless office, poor leadership, information overload, and maladministration. Of course, you will discover that the last three are not significantly affecting the network, though they exist, but at least they exist at a minimal rate. My last slide. We are trying to identify with the future of young surveyors networks in Africa and young surveyors network of Africa, and we as well asked persons that what are the contributions they would like to make to young surveyors networks, what are the things they know they can do to assist young surveyors networks in Africa. These were the questions we asked young surveyors in Africa and the coordinators of young surveyors in Africa. And I tell you that from this we produced a future. From the future I have with me here, which I made, which is a culmination of what we all of all of our responses and of all of the things that we are all into. We discovered that 100% of respondents have a contribution to offer the FIG-YSN. May I explain the way the question was asked? We asked that if amidst of all these things, which of or can you have a contribution to make to young surveyors networks? And we give them the opportunity to select three. Everybody who filled the responses had one particular assistant to render the young surveyors network. The second one again, everybody who filled the questionnaire had one more. Then the third one, 74.07%, which makes 20 out of 27, had a particular contribution to render to the young surveyors network. It means that 200% of young surveyors, 274.07% of young surveyors out of 300 actually have certain things to do to make the young surveyors network better. So we believe in a greater future. And one of the things I have here is that to aid and facilitate support from African organizations. This has been identified as one thing that young surveyors could do by 33.33%. Another here is to implement international principles, framework, and guidelines concerning surveying profession in Africa. I'll take that again because it's not boldly written here. I'm sorry. To implement international principles, framework, and guidelines concerning the surveying profession in Africa. We believe there are some international principles that contradict what is operating at present in African countries. So we hope to be much more active in this, just as we are getting better as a young surveyors network in Africa. Another year is championing YSN objectives in Africa. Another year is linking up with funding agencies in Africa. And the last one I have is networking prospective young surveyors in Africa. These are the certain things, these are the things that young surveyors in Africa have identified as what they should improve on and what they are improving on at present. So we expect that hopefully when we have a time plan, when we are being able to come together again, or when we have a time plan, we are being able to appraise our activities, would have significant changes, significant increase, significant improvement in all of these things. Lastly, I would like to appreciate the organizers of this event, the entire European Young Surveyors Network, the coordinator of the FIG Young Surveyors, Charlotte Gilead, who had always been in contact with me to ensure this presentation, and several other persons who participated in diaspora, the contributors to this paper, because they were actually very, very interesting during the data gathering, the analysis, and everything. I would like to say thank you very much, and especially to thank you to this audience who had taken time to listen to me despite my absence at Bulgaria. And I hope to tell you that when I come next year, I will be a professional registered surveyor of the Surveyors Council of Nigeria, which means I will have finally finalized my registration in the Nigerian situation. One more time, let me say thank you, and thank you very much.